In this video, I'm going to go over the Geometry EOC Mock 5 Day 1 or Part 1. So this first one says line segment AB has endpoints A 6, 1 and B 3, 8. Find the coordinates of the point that divide the line segment directed from A to B in a ratio of 2 to 3. So this right here, segment directed, tells me that this is a directed line segment. So I'm going to use the directed line segment formula. And I know that this is x1, y1, this is x2, y2, and this is my A, and this is my B. So the formula is B times x1 plus A times x2 over B plus A, and B times y1 plus A times y2 again over B plus A. So I'm going to go ahead and populate that formula. So our B is 3 times my x1, which is 6, plus my A, which is 2, times my x2, which is 3, over B plus A, which would be 2 plus 3. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. So this is going to be 3 times 1 plus 2 times 8, again over 2 plus 3. So this is going to be 18 plus 6 over 5. And this is going to be, 3 plus 16 over 5. So that's going to be 24 over 5. And this is going to be 19 over 5. So that is this one right here. Number 2 says identify the cross-section that results from slicing the three-dimensional figure. On this one, basically if we slice that sphere in half, we know that we're going to see a circle. And so what I told people was slice it in half and then flip it and look at the end of it. And that's how we know it's a circle. So that's number 2. Number 3, write the equation of a circle with a center of 0, 0. And 5, 2, a point on the circle. So on this one, we're going to use our circle formula, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, recalling that hk is the center of my circle. So when we look up here at our points, 0, 0 is going to be h and k, and the 5, 2 is going to be x and y. So when we do this, go ahead and populate our formula again. So this is going to be 5 minus 0 squared plus 2 minus 0 squared equals r squared. That's 5 squared plus 2 squared equals r squared. That's 25 plus 4 equals r squared. So that's 29 equals r squared. Now we have to put this back in the formula. The only reason why I'm telling you all you need to do this here, because obviously we know that this is our answer right here, because it's the only one that has 29 for r squared. But when you guys do this, on another test, then you have to make sure that you're putting the h and k back in here. So that's the only reason I'm plugging it back in here, so you guys could see that if I had to put my h, I'd put it right there, and if I had to put my k, I'd put it right there. And that's kind of important because obviously the formulas are not always going to look like this one does, where h and k are 0. Number 4 says an exercise class has 18 people. If each person produced 1900 BTUs of body heat during the class, and the room's 28 by 32 by 12, how many BTUs per cubic foot did they produce to the nearest hundredth? Okay, now on this one, I want you guys to notice that every answer here has BTUs per feet cubed. So that kind of tells me how to set up this problem. BTUs and feet cubed here. So our BTUs, we have 18 people at 1900 BTUs per person, and our room is 28 by 32 by 12. So when we multiply across the top and across the bottom, we're going to get 34,200 on top. We're going to get 10,752. Well, I could actually almost do this in my head based on the answers that are over here, because 34,000 divided by 10,000 is just going to be about 3. But when I get this, I do get 3.18. So again, this is our answer. This question says various dilations of square A are shown, which square is obtained by dilating square A by a scale factor of 3. So I'm going to look at our sides here of A. This one's 2 by 2. So if I take one of my sides and I multiply it by our scale factor, which is 3, that gives me 6. So we're looking for something that has a side of 6 and a side of 6, and the only one of those that we have is right here. 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6 by 6. So our answer is E. Another relatively easy problem. Kind of nice to have some of those along the way. All right, our next question is this one. Based on the shortest leg of the triangle illustrated, if a similar triangle on the coordinate plane has its shortest leg defined by the points -1, 6, and 0, 6, what is the third point? So the first thing I did was label these 3 points because that's going to help me out. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to label this point over here, -1, 6, that's right there, and -1, 0, that's right there. So this is the side that we're talking about. So I do know that that is 1/3. The new side that's horizontal is 1/3 the original side. So I always take the ending over the beginning to find the scale factor. So the ending was 1 and the beginning was 3, so that's our scale factor, 1/3. So now what I want to do next is I want to find the slopes of these, because if the angles are the same in these two shapes, when we scale it, then the slopes are going to be the same. So let's go ahead and find the slope of the one on the left. So 6 minus a minus 6, that's our y values. And then again, 6 minus a minus 6, that's actually our x values too. So this is going to be 6 plus 6 over 6 plus 6. So that means that's 12 over 12, which is equal to 1. So the slopes over here on the left are going to be 1. So we're going to use the slope of left moving from this point up here, the -1, 6. And then we're also going to use, so that's this line right here that we just found the slope of. So we're going to use that slope, and then we're going to use the other slope as well. So I'm going to do it in a different color. So again, this time, our y values, we've got again 6 minus a minus 6. And we've got 9 minus a minus 6. Geez, I can't write today, y'all. Be good if I could write. Sorry. 9 minus a minus 6. So this is going to be again 6 plus 6. And this is going to be 9 plus 6. So this is going to be 12 over 15, which we know that 3 goes into both of those. So that's going to be 4/5. So that's our slope for the other side. So now let's use these slopes. So we're going to use the left slope first. I'm going to do it in blue. So I'm going to do the slope of 1 over here in blue. So I'm going to go down 1 to left 1, put a dot. Down 1 to left 1, put a dot. Whoops, that was not the right spot, y'all. Sorry. Welcome to using a whiteboard, right? Let's see if we can do this. So down 1 over 1 would be right there. Down 1 over 1 right there. Down 1 over 1 right there. Down 1 over 1 right there. Down 1 there. And there. So even at this point, we could eliminate some of these points perhaps, but let's go ahead and see if we can find the slope of the other side. And actually, we could go ahead and draw this side, because what we're going to look for is the intersection of the two sides. So now let's do the other one in green. So we're going to go, again, down 4 over 5. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our point of intersection right there. So if we find the other side, that's it right there. So the point of intersection of those two sides is -5, 2. And that is our answer. So for this next problem, again, we're going to read. A circle is inscribed inside a square as shown. If graphed on the coordinate plane, the coordinates of the center of the circle would be 2, 5. The coordinates of the other point on the circle would be -2, -2. So notice that it says center and gives us that. Other point, that. So we're going to, again, use our formula, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we're going to go ahead and populate this formula. We're going to find our r. It said to find the area of the square. So we need the radius right here, because if we have both radiuses, those two radiuses right there create a diameter, and that diameter will be the base of our square and the height of our square. So we're going to go, again, -2 minus 2 squared plus 2 minus 5 squared. That equals r squared. So here we got -4 squared plus -3 squared equals r squared. This is going to be 16 plus 9 equals r squared. So 25 is equal to r squared. So r, we would take square root of both sides to find r. r equals 5. So we put our 5 up here. We got a 5 there and a 5 there, which means our base here is 10 and our height is 10. So to find the area of a square, we go 10 times 10, and that's 100. And that was our answer. Our next problem says Jordan surveyed her friends about whether or not they had a minivan and whether or not they lived in a two-story house. She reported the relative frequencies in a table shown. Which statement is correct? So here we need to key in on some words here. A says it is least likely that one of her friends lives in a two-story house and has a minivan. Well, least likely means it's the lowest probability. So we're looking for the lowest number. So two-story house has a minivan. That would be this one right here. And that one right there is definitely not the least likely. It's not the lowest probability. So we know that's not the answer. The next one says is most likely to have one of her friends most likely. So this means highest. This means a high probability. Okay. That one of her friends has a minivan but does not live in a two-story house. So does not live in a two-story house, has a minivan. That's this one. Again, that's not our highest probability. So this one is also no. Letter C is most likely that one of her friends lives in a two-story house. Again, so it most likely means high probability. One of her friends lives in a two-story house but does not have a minivan. So that would be this one right here. Again, that's not our highest probability. So that is also no. And D is least likely that one of our friends does not have a minivan and does not live in a two-story house. So that's this one right here. And least likely, again, means the lowest probability. So this is our answer. Our next question. If the circumference of a circle is doubled, how does the area of the circle change? So I want to remind y'all something. When we talk about a length, we're just going to multiply the length by the change. And that's a one-dimensional thing. When we talk about an area, we're going to multiply by the change, whatever the change is, squared. And when we have volume, we're going to multiply by the change cubed. So what we have to look here first is what is the change. The change is right here. It's the doubled word. So that represents a 2. And then we're talking about area. How does it change the area? So when we have area, we are going to square whatever the change is. So that means that that would be a 4. And it says A is doubled, B is tripled, C is quadrupled, and D is the area doesn't change. And so obviously the answer here is C, quadrupled, because that's what the 4 represents. So this one says which construction correctly shows how to construct a perpendicular bisector of segment XY. So first of all, I know it's not D because that's not a perpendicular bisector. And C really doesn't have enough information on it for me to choose it either. B, I couldn't draw a line through 1 point, so I could also eliminate it. I can only draw a line through 2 points, so our answer is A. That would have been the correct answer. Now let me show you how we would have done this. Here is our line segment. If you recall, we would put our compass on this first point X here, and we would then draw an arc up here at the top and an arc down here at the bottom. Without moving our length of our compass, we would put it over on X, and we would do the same thing over here and create another mark like that. Then we would draw a straight line. through that. And this is a perpendicular bisector. So I also want to remind you guys that if you have access to my YouTube channel, then you can watch the videos from Unit 5, which are the videos on all the constructions, and it will help you to recall how to do constructions. So this next one says, with reference to the diagram, which facts are required to conclude that the measure of angle AED is equal to the measure of ACB? So the first thing I want you guys to recognize is that we have two triangles here. We have triangle ABC, we have triangle ADE, and they share an angle up here, angle A. Now, this problem tells us we want to prove basically that that angle right there is congruent with that angle right there. Sorry, I don't know why this is doing that. So I want to look at the statements that are here. So the first statement we have is that AD is equal to DB. So I'm just going to give it some numbers just for the sake of working the problem. And AE, that's this one over here, is equal to EC. So I'm going to make that 2 and 2, okay? So then let's see if we can compare little triangle to big triangle. So our little triangle up here, so we've got 1 over our big triangle, which is the whole side here, 2. Does that equal 2, little triangle again, right up here, this side, over the whole thing over 4? So that's the same ratio, because 1/2 is equal to 2/4. And if you recall, we had that angle up at the top. So we can prove that these triangles are similar. Triangle AB, I can't even read my stuff now. Let me go ahead and erase this. So triangle ABC is similar to triangle ADE by side angle side. So if the triangles are similar, then we can say that the angles are all congruent, because when we have similar triangles, remember, our angles don't dilate. You might want to write that down. Angles don't dilate, only sides do. Okay, so that means that these angles have to be congruent here because the triangles are similar by side angle side. And the answer here was A. The next question says, if two triangles are congruent, then they have the same center. No. They have the same volume. No, because circles don't have volume. They have area. They have the same diameter. Yes. They have the same direction. I don't know what the heck that means, so no. The answer is no. There. So our answer here for this one is C. They have the same diameter. If two triangles are congruent, they have the same diameter. Our next one. This one says, two brothers build a pyramid-shaped fort. The fort is 8 feet wide and it's at its base. What expression could be used to calculate the height of the fort? Now, the first thing I notice is that I have the same angles up here, 50 and 50. So that means that that is an angle bisector, which means it's a perpendicular bisector. So because it's a perpendicular bisector, I can then look and see if I can find, because I'm looking for the height, and that's this right here. So I notice immediately that if it's a perpendicular bisector, that's 4 over there and that's 4 over there. So I need to look at this and see if I can find a ratio, and I can tell that it's requiring ratios because that's what the answers are. So I want to look at the 4 and the height, and those are opposite and adjacent to the 50-degree angle. So I know that I'm going to use the tangent ratio. So the tangent of 50 is equal to 4 over the height. Now, if you remember, I told you guys that you can swap whatever in the denominator with whatever's on the other side so that we can solve this problem. So height is equal to 4 over the tangent of 50. And that was 4 over the tangent of 50 is B. That one right there. No, wait, that's not right. Sine. I was not paying attention. It's D. 4 over the tangent of 50 right there. This is, what is the slope of the midsegment parallel to AC? Well, first of all, midsegment means that it is somewhere in the middle of here and there, and it's always going to be parallel to the side that it looks like it should be parallel with. So it says, what is the slope of the midsegment parallel to AC? So we're looking for slope of a parallel line. Well, parallel slopes are congruent. So there's two ways we could do this. We could do this mathematically, or we could do it by counting. So remember rise over run. So if we go from C here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if we go 2 to the 1, 2 to the left, that's over -2. So my answer would be -4. We could also do this mathematically. So 7 minus a minus 1 over 5 minus 3. Wait, 5 minus 3, yeah. So that is, oh wait, I did that, I flipped it. So I got to keep them in the same order, my bad. So I'm going to do 3 minus 5 like that. So that's again going to be 8 over -2, which still gives us -4. So whether you use the slope formula or you just count it, either way your answer is going to be -4. The next problem, says a circle is centered at 5, 4 and has a radius of 6. This is again the formula for a circle, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So all I'm doing is populating this formula, x minus 5 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 6 squared. So the only simplification we need to do right here is this, which would be 36. So our answer for this one was C. So our next one is, which rectangle, if translated 6 units down and 1 unit right, and then rotated 90 degrees counterclockwise about the point -2, -5, will result in rectangle E? So first of all, if I know that this shape is rotated, let's look at the original. So this one is 2 tall and 3 wide. So I know if I'm going to rotate it, it's not going to stay 2 tall and 3 wide. It's going to rotate so that it's 3 tall and 2 wide. So I can already eliminate A and C. So then I would just start doing this through the point. Now I will tell you that it's being rotated about point -2, -5, which is this point right here. That's the point by which it's being rotated about. So if I move this D down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then over 1, it's going to end up right here. And if I rotate it, well, sorry, it would be taller, like so. If I rotate it, then it's going to lay down. So that is the point. Now I could do the same thing with B, and if I did that, I would see that it does not end up that point. So our answer to this problem is rectangle D. The next question is a area of a sector. It says the sector of the circle is shown, find its area. That formula is pi r squared theta over 360, bottom left-hand side of your formula sheet. So when we do that, we're going to do pi times 4.2 squared times theta, which is 68, over 360. Sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. When we get that, and remember, this time we're going to have to multiply by. Notice that none of our answers over here have pi in them. So when we do this, we're actually going to get 10.5 centimeters squared. That is the answer to this problem. So on this next problem, it says Dr. Mitchell, an animal veterinarian, collected data during an animal examinations on the kind of animal a boy or girl has as a pet. Based on the data collected, which statement is true? So it says a girl is 17% more likely than a boy to own a cat than a dog or any other animal. So if we're looking at girl with a cat and boy with a cat, we're going to do, there's 25 girls with a cat, and we had a total of 18 plus 25 plus 12 total. So that's going to be 22 over 55. That's going to be 0.4545. Then if we compare the boy with the cat, boys with cats were 15, and again that's going to be over our total boys. So that's going to be 27 plus 15 plus 10. Sorry, that's a plus. So that's going to be 15 over 52, and that is 0.2885. So this says a girl is 17% more likely than a boy. So if we subtract these two numbers from each other, 0.4545, and we subtract 0.2885 from that, we get, 0.166, which is 17%. So this actually is our answer right here. So the next problem says when proving Pythagorean theorem, we use the given diagram. The area of the large square is equal to the area of all four triangles plus the area of the inscribed square, which mathematical sentence demonstrates this. So first thing we want to do is find the area of the square. And we know that a square is just the side squared. So a side is a plus b here. So we're going to do a plus b squared. That's our side. Then it also says that it's equal to the area of all four triangles plus the area of the inscribed squared. So the area of a triangle, if you notice, this is going to also be b right here. So we have four of those because this would be a, this would be b, this would be a, this would be b, and this would be a. So we have four of those triangles. So we're going to do 4 times 1/2 a times b. And then we're going to add to that the area of the square, which is going to be plus c squared. Because again, the area of a square is the base times the height, so that's just c squared. Why that keeps doing that? Yep, issues. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to do this. We're going to square the first term, a squared. We're going to multiply two terms together times 2, so that's plus 2ab plus b squared. And then this is going to be half of 4 is 2, so this is equal to 2ab plus c squared. So let's see if we can find one that looks like this one over there. So we've got a squared plus 2ab. Well, actually, we have this exact formula that we used right here without simplifying it much, almost, right here. So that's our answer. So we didn't really have to simplify the right side at all. We just had to simplify the left side. That's our answer. The next one says, given a circle with a diameter of 2/3, which equation expresses pi as a ratio of the circumference of the circle in its diameter? So first of all, we got 3/2 the circumference equals pi. So we've got c is equal to pi times the diameter. So c is equal to pi times 2/3. So 3c, if we multiply both sides by 3, over 2. And then basically we can multiply this by its reciprocal. That would be 3/2. And this would be 3/2. So that would be 3c over 2 equals pi. And that's what we're looking for, this right here. So the first thing we're going to do with all these numbers in this table is divide them by 50 and make a new table. So that's what we're going to do over here. So when we divide 2 by 50, we get 0.04, 0.4, 0.16, this is 0.6, 0.08, 0.14, 0.18, 0.4. And remember, I said these two numbers over here, 0.6 and 0.4, should equal 1. And when I do 0.12 here, when I add those two, 0.54, add those two, 0.34. Again, when I add those three numbers together, they should also equal 1. So now we're going to answer these questions. What's the probability of a boy if the favorite activity is swimming? So we got to look at swimming first. What is the probability that it's a boy? So this says the probability of boy if the favorite activity is swimming. So that means we got to look at our total here, and we got to divide it by the boys. So we're going to do 0.16 divided by 0.34, and that answer is 0.47. So we're going to take this 0.47 from over here, and we're going to put it right there. So this time it says probability of girl if favorite activity is a sport. So these are our sports totals, and these are our girls. So again, we're going to do 0.14 divided by 0.54, and that one is 0.26. So we're going to take that one and put it over here. So we're going to go down through this process through all of them. So I'm going to tell you what the other answers are. Girl, if favorite activity is reading, it's 0.67. Boy, if a favorite activity is sports, 0.74. Favorite activity is swimming if it's a girl, 0.45. Favorite activity if reading, favorite activity is reading if a boy, that one's 0.07. Then we have favorite activity is swimming if a boy, that one was 0.27. And our last one, obviously by deductive reasoning, is 0.20.